right, you might remember these food stamps. They were much smaller. We've blown this up so that you can see it. But you get the picture. You might have actually used them yourself, or someone in your family did, or someone you knew did. Today, there are no longer physical food stamps. They come in the form of a debit card. They're known as EBT, but the idea is the same. It's part of something called the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's better known as SNAP. 42 million Americans rely on SNAP benefits to help pay for food. Hard to imagine in one of the richest countries in the history of all of humanity. 42 million people, bigger than the population of some countries, rely on food assistance on a daily basis. And this issue about SNAP has become central to the government shutdown. SNAP benefits ran out today because funding for them has now run out. Yesterday, 2 federal judges ruled that the Trump administration must tap into billions of dollars in emergency funding to at least partially fund SNAP. The judges, in 2 entirely separate rulings, gave the White House until Monday to report back to them with plans to comply with their decisions. Even if the president complies with the orders, and that remains to be seen, this means that millions of SNAP recipients will at least face delays because it will take some time for states to get that money and to get it flowing again. Again, 1 in 8 Americans rely on SNAP, and that likely includes people you know, whether or not you know that they're on SNAP. SNAP can be used at grocery stores, at convenience stores, at farmers markets, some online retailers. It is not a luxury. It is a lifeline. It helps people buy the basics, proteins like meat, poultry, and seafood, along with vegetables, fruit, dairy, bread, baby food, eggs, soup, beans. No alcohol, no tobacco, just food. Eligibility is limited to families who earn up to 130% of the federal poverty level or less. So in New York, for example, a single person earning around $23,000 or less can receive about $298 a month in SNAP benefits. A family of 4 earning around $48,000 or less can receive about 4 times that, about $994 in benefits, and so on. So SNAP is used by everybody, all sorts of people, every race, ethnicity. The plurality of SNAP recipients, as you can see on this chart, 44% are white, 27% are black, 22% are Hispanic. But here's the killer. Nearly 40% are children. 1 in 4 kids across the United States. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities calls SNAP, quote, the nation's most important and effective anti-hunger program, end quote, noting that it reduces poverty, it improves health, it supports low-wage workers, and it provides a vital safety net during economic downturns. But it's not just social policy, it's also economic policy. Every time somebody uses their SNAP benefits, remember, you can't take it overseas, you can't put it in the stock market, you have to use it where you live. It boosts business revenues. It creates jobs at that grocery store or that corner store. It generates paychecks. People who earn those paychecks then spend that money. They also pay taxes, so it comes back into the economy. SNAP enables low-income families to allocate more of their income to non-food spending, which then also puts money into other sectors, not just food and grocery. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, which administers SNAP, estimates that every dollar spent in SNAP benefits generates $1.54 in economic activity. So an increase of $1 billion in SNAP benefits means $1.54 billion in added economic activity. That increases GDP. Letting SNAP benefits lapse does not simply hurt families. It hurts the entire economy. It'll have a negative impact on all of us. And when you take food off the table of nearly 42 million Americans, you take stability out of the economy and you take humanity out of policy. Joining me now is the Democratic Congresswoman of Connecticut, Jahana Hayes. Congresswoman Hayes serves on both the Agriculture and Education Workforce committees. Congresswoman, thank you for being with us. I wasn't inclined necessarily to talk to a member of Congress about this, except you are not the only one, but you're someone who's actually had to rely on SNAP benefits in the past. So you've got firsthand experience about who gets these benefits and how they use them.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. And your lead up was terrific because you laid it out very well. I remember that food stamp book very well, the one you displayed from, at being a child and also when I was a young mother trying to raise my 2 children. But even moving forward as a classroom teacher, so many of my kids struggled with hunger, and that led to behavior issues. That led to not learning. hungry kids don't learn, which is why when I went to Congress, I asked for these two committees on purpose, because I wanted to be in the room and part of the conversation that made sure that children are fed. So this moment that we are in is incredibly egregious to me.
I was talking to Bishop William Barber a couple hours ago about this very point, about the children. You could be sad that children, 40% of children in this country are food insecure, meaning it's not clear where their next meal is coming from. But regardless of being sad, you really do set children back in their education for the rest of their lives, not in the 1 year that their family might be on SNAP.
Ali, this is the United States of America in 2025. We can do more than be sad. We can feed children. And right now, we have an administration that is literally refusing to release SNAP benefits, making a conscious choice. We've heard the president say over the last couple of days, well, I would love to do it. I'd be honored to release these benefits and feed people, but I can't. Now a federal judge, actually two federal judges have said you can. I don't understand how this administration could even want to appeal that. What is the argument in court? Forget about the fact that they're doing all of these things without the approval of Congress. They have never, this administration in the last 10 months, come back to us for some of the things that are, congressionally designated things that we have to vote on spending for. They don't have to do anything more. We don't need an act of Congress. We don't need a vote. The money is there. The contingency funds are there. I just don't know how you make an argument against feeding people in this country.
So here's the hypocrisy of it. We've laid out the economic argument that $1 in SNAP funding is $1.54 back into the economy. It's just not. It's a huge return on investment, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not nearly as much money as we gave away in tax cuts to the wealthy and corporations.
Absolutely. And for many people are cued in on this SNAP conversation today because it's November 1st. And for the first time in the history of the program, benefits have been delayed going out the door because of a government shutdown. But again, I'm the ranking member on the Committee of Nutrition, and I have been making this argument in every legislative package, from the Farm Bill to the debt ceiling to every continuing resolution and budget that we've had to address, where my Republican colleagues have attempted to gut SNAP. So much so that in that one big beautiful bill that was passed in July, the largest cut in the history of the program, $178 billion. So whenever we have to go back to the table, their argument on the Republican side is to cut SNAP funding. When you said there's so many people that you may not even realize have to rely on SNAP benefits, it's because there's such a stigma attached to being hungry, to not being able to feed your family. Much like myself, there are many people working 2 jobs. I was working 2 jobs and going to school and still qualified for the program because wages do not match the cost of living. Rent is going up. Everything is skyrocketing. Now we have people who are about to see an increase in their insurance premiums. People need a break. So the fact that this tax cut, permanent tax cuts nonetheless, was just passed for the wealthiest individuals, and regular, everyday, working class Americans keep getting hit over and over and over again, we can do more than be sad about that. We can actually do something about it. And I'm actually happy now that people are beginning to be forced to look at the data to see that this isn't just, the stereotypical conversations that people are having. This is every community, every demographic, every state, every part of the country, 42 million people, with 40% of the participants being children who have no political affiliation being impacted by this. This is crushing and devastating, and everyone who is an American, who is paying attention, who is, quite frankly, a human being, should be disgusted by this. I'm
just going to, as we say goodbye, I'm going to note that if you're in New York and you earn $23,000 a year and you get $298 for SNAP per month, that's $9.93 per day. $9.93 per day. You thieves who are stealing from the American people. That's who you're talking about. It's really
Ali,
something.
Yeah. It's about $2 per person per meal. So no one's getting rich off of SNAP.
No one's getting rich
People
off
are
of this.
just trying to feed their families.
Good luck if you can feed yourself for $10 a day. Jahana Hayes, thank you as always. Democratic Congresswoman of Connecticut, Jahana Hayes. All right, President Obama.